Hello and welcome to Sibos 2018 in Sydney. I'm Hannah Wallace and joining me now is Alistair Brown, Global Head of Payments for EPAM, and we're talking about open banking and instant payments. Hello Alistair, thank you very much for joining me again.
It's a pleasure.
So firstly, what are the technological and business model challenges around open banking?
So this is a collision of cultures, if you like. We have the new, dynamic, small, nimble firm in the form of the fintech. That's hugely exciting, and these people do have genuinely innovative cultures, but at the same time, they don't have the professional structure of a well-established organisation, whereas of course the banking world is exactly the inverse of that. That's why ultimately the combination works, but the potential for conflict, misunderstanding is enormous. And I think the last year or two particularly has established that it does work. We've moved from a position whereby the banks felt under threat, and there was a lot of journalistic statement that seemed to suggest that it was going to be incredibly difficult to make it work, and indeed the business models of the established banks were going to be undermined, weakened, and there was a possibility they might even disappear. Well, now we understand that of course it does work. If we're intelligent about the collaboration, we play to the respective strengths of both parties and off we go. Fantastic. That simplifies something that is enormously complicated. There's a lot of blood, sweat and tears that goes into making that happen. It's enormously exciting though, because effectively what it's doing is refreshing a deeply conservative and rather staid utility, and it's taking it to the next place, and that's hugely exciting. We don't really know what that next place is in many cases. It's not as if there's a clear-cut destination, so there's always an element of anxiety there, I suppose. But if we all understand that it's a collective journey, and collaboration has always been the way to get there anyway, in one form or another, then off we go, and it does work.
Fantastic, all right. And following on from that then, what are the latest trends in payments processing, would you say?
In processing itself, which is a specific subset of this, if we go back to the four-party model that was effectively invented in the 50s in the US, the payments processors have always sat behind that to make sure the whole thing fits together in terms of the electronics, the principles of how it all works. It became clear something like 10-15 years ago that batch processing of massive quantities of transactions on a 24-hour basis was something we needed to move away from and go into real time. There's a lot talked about when it comes to real time. It's badly defined, but what we mean is processing chunks and batches of transactions on a much more frequent basis. The new technology is coming not out of the US, but out of places like Russia or Central Europe. And that migration from the one to the other is a very painful business. Again, it's one of these long-running programs whereby existing complexity is replaced by another set of complexity. So it takes large teams many months to figure it all out and to move from A to B. We've done a lot of that at EPAM. Particularly down in the Middle East. Small banks, large banks, going from American technology to Russian technology, and it's been very interesting. So effectively this is the displacement of corporate technology formed by monolithic US corporations in the 70s and 80s by Russian technology that's been built in the last 15 or 20 years. So there's a strong evolution there. I have to say some of the technology is so incredibly complicated that one wonders whether one shouldn't be simplifying it before actually going into battle to implement it. But that's a whole new story. The fact is EPAM is a very good technology firm, and we're able to optimize the technology while we're implementing it. And this is where our agility is particularly appropriate.
Fantastic. All right, now coming to instant payments, what are some of the technological and business challenges there and worldwide?
So here's another case where the technology lag against what the domain really needs in its modern form is significant. And there's a lot of very good work going on to bring this whole area up to date, as there is in all of the other areas. We've recently encountered one organisation whose core technology is written in a 1970s Swedish language called Erlang. And this was invented by Ericsson for their specific purposes within telecommunications. And of course, in the intervening decades, it's been taken into other areas for which at the time it seemed to be applicable for technological reasons that are long forgotten. So in order to optimize that technology, we need to go and find people who still understand that language. And of course, this was many years ago, so there aren't that many of them. So one either cross-trains people from other languages into that one, or finds the few remaining ones who are still out there doing this sort of stuff. It's slightly amusing, and it's actually quite tough to form a new team using an old language to move ahead to optimize something that is 30 years out of date.
All right. Well, fantastic. Well, Alistair, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for watching.